And welcome back to the Hot Lap. The Saudi Arabian Grand Prix is in the books. It was a bit more exciting than Bahrain, but still, Red Bull reign supreme. Max Verstappen reign supreme. Sergio Perez, his ever number two, finishing second. Red Bull 1-2, really boring at the front. The start was the most exciting bit for the race lead, I guess. Interesting at the back, especially at the back end of the points. But, and here's the big exclamation mark, Ollie Bearman, absolutely fantastic, record-breaking debut, youngest driver for Ferrari, youngest driver, I think, surely then for Ferrari to score points, finishing 7th, youngest Brit to ever debut for Ferrari, ever debut full stop, and score points. Well done, massive thumbs up to you, Oliver Bearman, as we get into the race results. We've got Verstappen, Perez, by the by, Red Bull 1-2, yeah. That's it. And Perez had a penalty, though, for that unsafe release. Once again, a 5-second penalty. Me, personally, bearing in mind Leclerc did get held up a lot longer because they decided that they couldn't release. And had they, it would have been unsafe. But then they released Perez and got a... I think, at that point, if it's a dead serve, do drive-throughs. I like the fact that they've added these 10-second penalties to other infringements, but no, because it's dangerous, unsafe release, get a drive-through. There you go, that sorts things out, doesn't it? But there we go, but well done to Verstappen. Perez didn't do a bad job either, keeping within touching distance of Verstappen if he had a problem, which is what Red Bull want Perez to do. Leclerc third, best he can really do. Piastri did a solid job, albeit that McLaren is so slow he could not get past Hamilton, who did an amazing defensive drive. Alonso finished 5th. Well done for him, I think, in the Aston Martin. Despite the fact he started 4th, I did not expect him to be that high. Russell 6th, kind of where you expect Mercedes to be at the moment. Bearman beating a world champion elect from some people, Norris, and one of the greatest of all time in Hamilton. I mean, you finished 7th. Hold your head up high, Oliver. But to be fair, Hamilton, I think, him and Norris, I don't think they got screwed by the safety car. Maybe in hindsight, because that strategy was, let's see where we go and see if we can get another safety car, which I think would have been really, really good. It's Saudi Arabia. I think chances of a safety car are high, alas. It was not to be, was it? It was not to be. And Hamilton put up an amazing drive against a much faster Piastri and held him off. That is how you defend. Lando Norris finishing 8th ahead of Hamilton. Solid job. Don't get it. Let's Verstappen pass really easy. Yes, there was like a massive overspeed, but doesn't even try. But when it comes to Hamilton, he decides to weave all across the track, doing his best to try, and yeah, naughty Norris there. And also getting away with a false start. So a scrappy race from Lando Norris. I think 8th is probably, maybe where he deserved to be in the end. I don't know. But a scrappy one for Lando Norris in the end there. But it's good that both McLaren finished in the point. Hamilton 9th. Hulkenberg, well done for Hulkenberg. But we'll get into the reasons why in a bit. Yeah, but well done. Albon, not too bad. And here comes Magnussen. Now, people are praising Magnussen for his defence. I'm not. And we'll talk about that in winners and losers. Ocon, 13th. Best Alpine's going to do. Sargent, 14th. Yeah. Not too bad. I mean, he beat Tsunoda and Daniel Ricciardo. What a scrappy weekend he has. Bottas and Zhou lap down, and Lance Stroll, yeah, not finishing the race, being the only one to crash. It looks to be 100% his fault. Dare I say you needed a better driver in there? Felipe Dragovic, maybe. Ollie Bearman on his debut, big pressure, didn't make a mistake. Maybe this shows why you get a better driver in the Aston Martin if you want to take F1 seriously, Mr. Stroll. But there we go. Moving on. Let's move on then to our winners and losers. And welcome to our winners and losers for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. I may have already given you a few clues if you listened earlier. So let's get into our first loser. Oh, Daniel Ricciardo. I mean, you didn't qualify very well, did you? And you didn't race very well. Did you, Daniel? I mean, I just felt bad when I saw that. Almost cringed when he had that spin. We expect better from you, Daniel. We really do. Do we expect better from Lance Stroll? He's smiling there. He's definitely not a winner. Wait there. He's definitely a loser, I think. Wait there. No. Yeah, there it is. There it is. I fixed it. He was a winner in Bahrain. He did amazing. But Lance Stroll in the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, not good at all. Made a mistake. Went out. Once again, as I said, Lance Stroll makes a mistake. He's had years of experience. Oliver Bearman comes in with an hour practice, doesn't know the car very well, qualifies 11th and finishes 7th. No mistakes there, and manages to pass people cleanly. Lance Stroll, take a lesson from Oliver Bearman. What are Aston Martin doing? I mean, if this continues for Lance, I know, I'm not trying to completely hate on him, because this guy's got pole. He led a race in Turkey. It looked like at one point he had the speed to win. He does have talent. He's just not consistent enough. And once again, if it wasn't for his dad, he wouldn't be in Formula One, would he? If Aston Martin took their role as an F1 constructor seriously, I mean, you look at last year, Stroll cost them potential places in the Constructors' Championship. Fact. Now, let's get on to our next loser. Oh, Kevin Magnussen. Yeah. Now, why though? Why? He did such a great defensive drive. Well, I guess, is it though, when you've done such a great defensive drive, you've ended up catching 2 penalties that cost you 10 seconds each, totaling 20 seconds. But then that defensive drive did help Nico Hülkenberg and Haas get what could be an all-important point at the end of the year. The problem is, he ended up hitting Albon off the track, which wasn't very good. Literally giving him no space. Okay, fair enough. And then with Tsunoda as well, he just decided to, I am not going to, I'm just not going to use the track and carry on. And unlike, for example, when Piastri did that to Lewis Hamilton, he did not let him by. Ergo, he remained ahead. Ergo, yes, that 10-second penalty, I like the fact that they've given it, but then that penalty gave Haas the point. Not to take too much away from Hülkenberg, he did a great job. And Kevin Magnussen was, a nice defensive drive, other than those moments where I felt he should have been penalised more, and he refused to give the position, he gained an advantage, didn't give the position away, and that's why Hülkenberg scored a point, which is why I think we need more drive-through penalties. Get a drive-through the next 3 laps. See you later, Kevin. Unimpressed overall. I mean, yeah, it was good, but no, sorry. So, let's get on to our first winner, Lewis Hamilton. Why, though? But what a defensive drive. That is how you do a defensive drive against Oscar Piastri. It was fair. It was hard. Yes, Oscar Piastri even went off, I think, at least once, or twice, and then gave the place back to Lewis Hamilton, which is the right thing to do. So, well done, Oscar. And bearing in mind how slow that Mercedes was, and you saw how much Hamilton was struggling, I think, yes, George Russell did finish ahead of him, but if you just take the race as a whole, I think he did did really good, which is why he deserves to be kind of like a winner. I don't think I'll ever call Hamilton a winner again for finishing 9th, but not too bad. And this guy here, also a winner, Fernando Alonso. I did not think he would finish as high as he did in 5th, but he did. Fantastic, Fernando Alonso. I mean, he held off. I honestly thought that Russell was going to get him at one point, because Russell was looking really, close. And that Mercedes, yes, in that first sector, was really slow, but that Mercedes was quite fast in a straight line. But alas, Fernando Alonso, well done. Next up, we've obviously got Charles Leclerc. I think that he got the most out of the Ferrari that he could have done in Saudi Arabia for the whole weekend. Thumbs up to him. 3rd was the best he could really do. There's no way he was holding Perez back in the end. And also, I mean, well done, Max Verstappen. You did your job. You won the race. Enough said, really. If you keep doing it, I'm going to have to throw you off the winners because it's getting boring. But, star of the race, Ollie Bearman. Hold your head up high. Debuting for Ferrari in free practice 3 without ever driving the car, having 1 hour, qualifying 11th, nearly out qualifying Lewis Hamilton, dropping him out of Q3, but just didn't do it. Goes into the race, makes a solid start, is all over Tsunoda at the beginning, makes really neat and good passes, holds it together whilst Norris and Hamilton are closing in fast towards the end of the race, keeps it 7th. Absolutely fantastic. Well done, Ollie Bearman. So let's get into some of the other storylines, shall we? And speaking of Mr. Bearman, yes, Record breaker. Let's take it. He's been hailed as a star even by Damon Hill after the 18-year-old. He performed brilliantly. This is from PlanetF1.com. In his debut with just that one practice session, a star is born. Hailed Damon Hill, and he became just the 68th driver to deliver points on their F1 debut. As he held off late threats for Lando and Hamilton. And he was handed driver of the day by the fans. Praise soon started flooding in for F1's newest driver. As we said, star is born. Oliver BEARMAN to jump in at such short notice, Hill says, on a track as intimidating as Jeddah, in a Ferrari of all things, and hold up under immense pressure from Lando and Lewis. Wow, he's been described. Now, BEARMAN seemed rather calm after the race, but admitted it took some time to get used to the differences between F1 and F2. F1, much bigger car, much faster. But he said it was a fantastic race, pushing all the way. He said, I was shocked at how close we were racing, and getting quicker every lap was incredible, especially at the end when I had two guys bearing down on me. I couldn't relax. I was always in my mirrors pushing flat. Massive thumbs up there for you, Mr. BEARMAN. Next up, we've got a slow Mercedes. Yep, Lewis Hamilton calls for big changes to the W14 after racing in a different category, he says. He hopes to see big changes because Mercedes were miles off the pace. After Bahrain, we had the big but. We had the big, if it was not for that engine overheating, they'd be a bit closer. Yeah, they're not, are they? The 7-time world champion, he was pleased with how his car handled in the slower parts of the circuits. But while trying to chase Lando, you saw in Sector 1, he absolutely had no pace compared to Lando Norris. Is that a setup thing? Maybe. But then you still saw that, that nasty rear end, as Hamilton and other people like to comment on how that Mercedes handled last year. He said, it was like I was in a different category to F1 rivals in high-speed corners. Having been involved in an entertaining dive with Piastri for the majority of the race on the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, Hamilton, having not pitted under the safety car early, opted to stay out, trying to make that strategy work. Could there be another safety car, him and Norris? There wasn't. They ended up pitting, and he came out behind Norris for the final stint. Looked to be faster than Norris, but if that Sector 1, he just couldn't get close enough in the DRS zone. And Norris, as we know, he'd taken that same strategy, and they both finished behind Oliver BEARMAN. And a P9 placing was the sum of Hamilton's efforts, and I think he deserved more than P9 in terms of what he was putting into the car. But there we go. But it says more roaring for the team was following Norris. The McLaren driver, was able to open out a significant gap in that first sector, as we just explained. And that led to the 7-time champion to believe that his car simply could not match his rivals today. And also Russell's getting on in the action, saying Mercedes getting slower while rivals improved during the F1 rounds. Yeah, he believes that the Mercedes is, maybe hitting the reverse gear. Russell was second fastest aboard the Mercedes W15 during the FP2 at that Jeddah circuit before qualifying in 7th place. But it says here he would only go on to gain one position during that 50-lap race. The pace came courtesy of the one-time leader Norris dropping to 8th after running out of sync. The McLaren driver having stayed out, as we know. Russell likened the race weekend to the Bahrain season opener. And yeah, but he says, we're still trying to understand this car because we have shown true performance at points over the last 2 weekends. FP1 straight out of the box, we were top of the time sheets and always in the top 3. FP2, P2, then both weekends the pace was just falling away from us. That hasn't been our competitors getting faster. That's been us getting slower. So we need to understand why that is. But it's fine margins now. He said it's so close with ourselves, McLaren, Aston. Charles is just a smidge ahead, he says. We just need to tap into it a bit more. Yeah, I don't know what Mercedes are going to do. Australia, the last 2 years, has kind of been fairly solid for them in 22 and 23, where they've got, fairly good results, and they've been potentially the second best car there. So I think if it's the same in Australia as it was in Bahrain and Saudi, bearing in mind that's 3 completely different tracks now, I do think Mercedes could be in a bit of trouble. Last but not least, why no penalty for Lando Norris? Yes, he definitely jumped the start in terms of his car was definitely moving before those red lights. So let's see. And the stewards, though, they've explained why no penalty. Now, on onboard footage from Norris's car, it started to show the McLaren moving forward as the 5 starting lights were illuminated. And then extinguished. Now, Norris, he stopped his car for a moment once the lights went out before fully launching his grid slot. Now, we've got Article 48.1 of those regulations, which state that any driver is judged to have moved before the start signal is given will be penalised. Well, he definitely moved. But behind Norris, George also said he jumped to the start. Absolutely. Yes, telling tales, but they were true, weren't they? Now, in their decision, the stewards clarified that Norris had not committed an infringement under the wording of the regulations, as the FIA's standardised data transponder did not indicate that he jumped the start. They noted that the regulations state clearly that the judgment of whether or not there was a jump start is to be made in accordance with the transponder, which did not show a jump start. In the circumstances, therefore, we took no further action. That decision is consistent with an incident in 2019, in which Ferrari driver, I think Vettel, it says here, moved in a similar manner to Norris before the lights went out, and the stewards gave no penalty to him. So, to be fair, at least the stewards were consistent there. Yeah, fingers crossed about that consistency, but at least they were consistent. So Lando Norris, I mean, McLaren, they did okay. I wanted them to be maybe a little bit better. I don't know. So, but there we go. So let's just remind ourselves. Let's remind ourselves of our winners and losers for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. We've got Daniel Ricciardo, absolutely shocking qualifying, shocking race, kind of an embarrassing sprint. Lance Stroll, the only retiree, when you've got a rookie there for Ferrari that's done hardly any running, and then you go and shove it in the wall. Oh, Lance Stroll. Mr. Magnussen, the man that could not be overtaken because sort of a good defensive drive, but then when you decide to do Mario Kart style shortcuts, yeah, no one's really getting past you there. A bit. Yeah, but that did help Hulkenberg to get a point. But winner, Lewis Hamilton, that really good defensive drive and fair, but hard, against Oscar Piastri, brilliant. Fernando Alonso, did not expect him to finish fifth, fantastic. Leclerc, that's about as fast as I think he was gonna go. I don't think we could have asked anything more of him. And Verstappen, yeah, he got the maximum points. He won. Yes, he's in the best car, but there we go. I mean, he won. The closest anyone got was their star. Ollie Bearman, though, finishing 7th, record breaker, youngest British points finisher, youngest British Ferrari driver and points finisher. Absolutely fantastic. So this has been the Hot Lap. Stay tuned. There will probably be more news. I'm sure there'll be more stuff about Red Bull coming out at some point because, just because, which I'm sure we'll get into. But at least it was a better race. At least we had something nice to talk about of Oliver Bearman. I mean, yes, I'm so glad Carlos Sainz is better now after his appendicitis, but that's obviously horrible, and it did give Oliver Bearman the chance. So at least it gave us something newsworthy that wasn't about Red Bull, which is good on my behalf. If you made it to the end, like and subscribe. Stay tuned for more F1 news here at the Hot Lap. Thank you very much.